In a few moments, you will have an experience which will seem completely real. It will be the result of your subconscious fears transformed to your conscious awareness. You have 5 seconds to terminate this tape. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everybody? I promise no more Thug Life glasses. We're going to put those down for a little bit, but welcome to another We Are So Back Wednesday, another BG Cast Wednesday live podcast. Man, I got to tell you, this first month into 2025 has sure been interesting. I feel like right now we are encroaching upon unknown and unexperienced territory for this collective batch of humanity, or maybe just this batch. We might have experienced something like this in the past, who knows? But all I can tell you is things are getting profoundly interesting as the days go by. I foresee the silliness kicking up even further. I mean, we're a smidge away from getting into full-blown idiocracy at this point. I mean, we have Andrew and Tristan Tate with the Bruv Party trying to run for PM of England, of the UK. A lot of just wacky shit is just starting to emerge. So nonetheless, I have a really good guest. We're going to break this down tonight. He was back on the show, one of the first episodes of season 2. It is good to bring him back on. He posts some of the dankest memes on Facebook, and he runs Psych Media Labs, which is also his clothing line and his business that he runs. Guys, let's go ahead and welcome Jesse Bonds back to the BG Cast stage. What is up, man? How's it going tonight?
It's great to be back here, and I think we're talking about something extremely important. By the way, I'm loving the new intro. That's pretty cool.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. Actually, I got to give all the credit in the world to Official Urban, my friend Josh, for making that. It was time we jazzed it up a little bit around here, man. I've been going kind of raw for the past 2 years. It's nice to kind of, get a little bit of an upgrade and, get a new kind of look going, man. I still am looking for a new streaming software. We'll see about that. StreamYard's getting a little bit ridiculous with how much they're trying to charge, but nonetheless, man, it's good to have you back. And we have an awesome topic we're going to be breaking down tonight. For those of you who don't know, Jesse has been a vet in this for a while, just like me. He's been on his spiritual evolution and his awakening path for over 10 years at this point. And he's seen this timeline of everything that's occurring from a broader spectrum than a lot of the collective are witnessing it today. So, Jesse, let's get your thoughts, man. We're in a very interesting area for humanity, I would believe at this point. I think we are in this strange territory where we have this unknown that's kind of resonating within us. We're moving closer to this. I don't know if it would be called a fever pitch. I don't know if it would be called some kind of event. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like something is gearing up for something funky, man. Let's hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so personally, I think that what is happening is that COVID really pushed people to a point where society kind of needed to, reverse directions. And so what the people in power have done is they have basically rebranded their agenda. So that way the people who are resistant to it will be more accepting of it. And I think a huge part of that is by giving them little crumbs. Like, for example, Ross Ulbright was released, and I guess we're leaving the WHO. But I think that there's a much broader agenda that I think really needs to be discussed here. And I do not trust the new Trump administration.
I would completely agree with you, man. I think, when it comes down to these situations, because what, at least in my eyes, the election of 2024 did is both you and I know our vote is an illusion. You know, we know that that it's just an illusion of choice. We know that our presidents are picked. At least that's the opinion of us here. And what the 2024 election did because of the outcome is it ended up restoring faith in the American system. It was kind of like a little bit of a blindside for a lot of us. And we all know that this was most certainly planned. I mean, it was made to seem like this was the outcome of choice. I mean, even for a little bit, I was entertaining this could have been, you know, the power of intention and mass. But when we start to dive a little bit deeper and we look at everything that's kind of starting to emerge, man, I don't think this is something to be trusted. We got Don Rogers from March 4th Productions watching in Alberta. But dude, so I have a couple of cool articles I wanted to bring up. I wanted to show you that I did some searching for tonight. And it actually kind of, you know, the symbolism in these articles can be pretty intense because, so this is the first one we have. Check this out here. So this is the conversation, and look at the headline of the article. So we have Trump signals he will start pushing for a new world order in the first 100 days. Now, you know, one of the biggest things that we've seen, and I'm sure you can attest to this, man, is they're all in on it. They're all in on it together. This is the illusion, man. And I mean, the one thing I'm going to ask you on this is, do you, and this rumor's been floating around, and I just want to get your opinion on this. Do you think Trump is a practicing master Kabbalist?
I think yes. Yes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Well, where should I start? So I guess MAGA is, you know, a title that they would give to a high magician, especially in Satanism, actually. And so, shoot, where should I start? You know, there was actually 163 Jewish rabbis who in 2023 gave Trump the silver crown of the Torah, and that is supposed to be worn by the Messiah. And what's interesting is, so they believe that the person who rebuilds the third temple would be their Messiah. But in the Bible, it kind of, well, it basically, that's what they would be looking for when the rise of the Antichrist would take place.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you, dude. And I mean, speaking of that too, this is where it's going to get even better, man, because we also have somewhat of an article on that also that I ended up pulling up. So, you know, once upon a time, eager acolytes thought their false messiah could make their country great again. Sound familiar? So we have strange insistent parallels between Sabbatai Sevi of Smyrna and Donald Trump of Queens. So this is, you know, we've been starting to see a lot of similarities between Trump and a lot of different aspects and different people of our history. You know, one of the biggest things I'm going to say, and I want to get your opinion on this too. And, you know, for the people who are watching, let me just make something really clear real quick. I am not bashing Trump. I am not a supporter of the left. I am not a supporter of the right either. Neither is Jesse here. We're just trying to be objective and look at this situation from an objective point of view without having attachments to the mob mentality and the groupthink that come along with that side of the narrative. But, you know, nonetheless, man, the one crazy thing I am going to say about Trump is one of the biggest things I feel that he's doing, and maybe I can get your opinion on this too, is I feel like it is a mock of Christianity. And the reason why I want to say I feel like it is a mock of Christianity is this. So you look at the concept of idolatry, right? And you look at how Christians, at least true Christians, are not supposed to practice idolatry. They're not supposed to have idols or idolize anything. But we look at Donald Trump's following and the majority of the individuals that make up Donald Trump's following, we see a lot of Christians in there. You know what I mean? We see a lot of them in there. And, you take a look at, a lot of these people are getting Donald Trump tattoos with Jesus and things like that. I mean, I almost feel like the cult following is the manipulation itself. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree. And a lot of people have made a comparison between him and the golden calf, because the golden calf represents idolatry. And I find that really interesting. Trump, he's always, he has golden skin, golden hair. The Trump Towers are golden. And he's been talking about this golden age, which is a common thing that's been coming up over and over. I've jokingly called him the Golden Dawn.
No, I'm with you, man. And that's the thing too, is it's like, I feel like one of the biggest things I could say is I feel like our collective at this point in time has seemed to enter some kind of mass hypnosis. Maybe back in 2016, I might say like, yeah, maybe it's cognitive dissonance. I might say that. But now what we're looking at here, I feel, is almost a full-on cult-like hypnosis to his following. And one of the biggest things I'm gonna bring up real quick, but first let's look at some of our comments we have popping up here. So we have Don Rogers again, George Carlin. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You're not part of it. Exactly. And then we have Canadian Spinja. So Spinja here. I observed a particular movement for a period. One of the things I noticed was at a convention, there was a golden statue of Trump. He was wearing boxing gear, had golden idol vibes. Spinja, I know, right? Thank you for that. But dude, so like the one thing I'm going to say is this, man, is it's like, we look at this cult-like mentality, and we look at this almost the idolatry we're seeing. In my eyes, this is kind of a stab at Christians, all right? And we kind of look at the whole series of events that we're talking about with Mr. Donald J. Trump. And, and you'll probably agree with me when I say this. I mean, what better sense, or what better way when we're talking about 5D chess? All right, we talk about 5D chess. What better way to get the outcome you want, but to have two separate roads there?
Yeah, and I think a part of what's happening is like, if you study the good cop, bad cop effect and how that's played, I think, during the last 8 years or so, we really saw how tyrannical the left could become. But now the pendulum is swinging in the other direction. And it really scares me, because a lot of the people who, it seemed like they were waking up, well, they're actually more deep in the hypnosis than ever before, really.
And dude, you want to know? So let me ask your thoughts on this, because back when we were, early in our journey, early in our awakening, we were like, man, it's going to be a really cool day, an interesting day where, these conspiracy theories start to break the mainstream, and, like more people start waking up. But what we, now that we're looking at it, and this is actually starting to occur, I think this is kind of the way it's been set up all along. They do you feel like they made conspiracies mainstream so they could gain control of this community?
I think that definitely plays a role. I mean, I think that some of it was organic, don't get me wrong, but I also think that, controlled opposition is a real thing. And if we're not careful about like honey traps, if you will,
honeypots.
Yeah, honeypots. Then then we're going to be in big trouble, because, I mean, what blows my mind, right, is so this plan for them to buy Canada and Greenland. Well, that's been a long plan to create the North American Union. Mm-hmm. And the first time I ever heard about that was actually from Alex Jones. So it's just kind of ironic, because Alex Jones has turned into Donald Trump's biggest cheerleader. But, in his documentary Endgame, though, he talks all about how they would create a North American Union and how they would do it. So it's baffling, really.
I'm with you, dude. And, man, it's because the thing about Alex Jones, dude, and I know so many in this community still respect, dude, and believe in, for real. I even still have a smidge of respect for Alex, man, because a lot of people today don't remember the old Alex Jones. I do. I remember when Alex was thin, he had a full head of hair, and he was out beating the streets in DC, man. He was chasing politicians down. And he was laying them out to dry right in the middle of DC, man. And you know, back when before InfoWars got dolled up when it was in its original studio, like back in the day. And I mean, dude, I had high hopes for Alex, man. I really did. And I feel he's been compromised at this point. And I know a lot of people, you know, don't want to hear that because, you know, in a lot of ways, Alex Jones, in some ways, I don't want to make this reference, but it's the only reference I can. He was becoming a modern day Bill Cooper for a while. He was becoming a modern day Bill Cooper. He was quite right about a lot of things. He was, but you know, when we look at old InfoWars, you know, like the old InfoWars, Alex was very into the occult. I mean, he was doing episodes on esoteric stuff. Like he was doing episodes on, like, I remember his cymatics episode that he did. You know, I remember like he was being as objective and wide open as possible. And I honestly think potentially the Sandy Hook stunt is what bought him over. I don't know if something strange went on there, but dude, why do you feel like alternative media has been compromised right now, Jesse? Because I feel like we see a lot of these alternative media people that we used to listen to while we were coming up and while we were going through our awakening. It seems like they've all swapped sides and they've made the Great Awakening a bipartisan issue, which we know it's not. What are your thoughts on that, man?
Well, to be honest, I don't know what their incentive is. Maybe it's they're compromised or maybe they're being paid. I really don't know. But I do know that a lot of them don't have any integrity because, I mean, I was listening to people like Alex Jones and Jason Burmis and Luke Radowski, I mean, years ago, and they would have never said the stuff that they're saying now and talking about how Elon Musk is a good guy. I mean, it baffles me.
I 100% agree, man. And that's the thing, too, I'm going to throw out there. To think a billionaire, and I'm talking to all of you who are listening right now, too, to think a billionaire is your comrade in any way, shape, or form at this point. I mean, I know so many people who they praise him, you know, because of X. And I mean, let me tell you something about X. I'm going to be upfront and honest about X here because, you know, I experience a whole totally different side of X than a lot of people do, but X is not about free speech. It's about what Elon thinks is free speech. And that's going to kind of be the best way I can put it at this point in time. And I mean, how could you trust somebody who wants to put an implant in your brain? Like, you know, to me, this screams New World Order. This screams the, you know, the beast system that we all talk about. I mean, what are your thoughts on Elon right now, Jesse? I mean, do you feel that, I mean, let me backtrack for a second because I've brought this up on the show before. There's, you know, and I've tried to research this and I can't really find anything on it. So if anybody who's listening has something on it, but apparently there's this duel between these two secret orders. You have the Malokians and then you have the Luciferians. And apparently the Malokians are the old world order at this point in time, the one that we're kind of leaving out of. And then we have the Luciferians who are kind of trying to reign in the new world order. I mean, when we look at Elon Musk, we see he is dolled up in transhumanism. I mean, in my eyes, guess what I'm trying to say here is, do you potentially see him sitting next to Trump in a higher position and potentially having a greater control over what's going on at this point in time?
I do. Absolutely. I do. And I think a lot of what is being brought in through this new Trump administration is this AI transformation, really. And, you know, and we're seeing it on so many different levels. Even Trump was talking about an AI healthcare system. And interestingly enough, the World Economic Forum is meeting up from the 20th to the 24th. And Trump is going to actually be having a virtual meeting with them tomorrow with the World Economic Forum.
Very interesting.
And whether or not he will, I mean, I guess go against them, I have no idea. But what's really fascinating to me is that the World Economic Forum is talking about AI healthcare. Trump is also talking about AI healthcare. That's very concerning. And so even if he goes against the World Economic Forum, my concern is that he will create this AI system under the banner of nationalism. And then, you know, as soon as a Democrat gets in office, they could flip the switch and we're in this global AI system.
Well, dude, so you've kind of you've kind of laid out what's going on, man. And this is why I do believe that Trump is a magician. I do believe he is. I do believe he is a practicing Kabbalist, because you just like under the disguise of nationalism. So this is what they're doing, is they're almost they're double speaking. Almost. Hold up. We got a comment from somebody here. Mr. Andrew Heavyweight Slice Feels, you crazy conspiracy theorist. The WEF is not a nefarious organization. He's just kidding, Jesse. He's this is a kind of a tidbit from two guests that we had on a few months back. They were super progressives. And they're great guys, though. Kyle and Cody, great guys. We walked away. I mean, I have nothing but a world of respect for them, but they don't think the WEF is a nefarious organization. But I guess, you know, that's why I think he's a magician, man, because this is what they're doing, is they're double speaking. They're using terms like nationalism, and they're using terms like patriotism and things like that to blanket what they're doing. And, you know, this is kind of what magicians do. They understand the focus of the people. They understand the human psyche, and they understand human consciousness very well. And they've already, in a lot of ways, I guess you could say, put his following under some kind of cult-like spell. And I'm not just saying, by the way, everybody, that Trump has that. You look at the left, they're under their own kind of special cult-like spell. You know, especially them bringing the guillotine to the inauguration outside at the protest, and also as well the meltdowns that are happening ever since he signed the executive order for there's only two genders, male and female. I'm telling you, man, real quick, I'm going to bring up the North American Union, because you brought that up. Not a lot of people. Maybe some people know about it, some don't. Let me pull it up on the screen real quick. I don't like using Wikipedia, but it was the quickest one at this point in time, because yes, they are compromised, but here we go. So we got the North American Union. They're missing Greenland in here in this one, though, at least in this model. But in what was it, Jesse? This originally was like planned back when Agenda 2030 was Agenda 2020, right? Like, I think this was, we've seen this kind of be entertained for quite some time. But basically what the North American Union is, it's a theoretical, so much economic and political continental union of Canada, Mexico, and the United States, the three largest and most populous countries in North America. The concept is loosely based on the European Union, yada, yada. But in this map right here, they don't have Greenland highlighted. But I know that in the earlier plots, for like the Agenda 2030 and or when it was Agenda 2020, they keep, you know, bumping it up, that they did have Greenland involved, man. So like I'm going to ask you this. I feel one of the reasons why this gets by a lot of the newly awakened, because they haven't been in it as long as us, and they don't know the history of this all. I feel it's really easy to get the wool pulled over their eyes. What do you think about that? Jesse, you there? Did you blank out on me, man? Oh, no. Jesse, can you hear me? Hold on one second, everybody. Let me get him looped back in. Up there you go. There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Cool. You blanked out for a second.
Okay.
Sorry, man.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's easy, because not to pull the wool over people's eyes when it comes to dressing up this new world order, this globalist agenda with these terms, because I feel like a lot of them haven't done the research and looked back far enough. I mean, you know, when you've been doing this and you've been kind of listening to this for as long as we have, I mean, we kind of see through the cracks. I mean, do you think this is something they're going to potentially try? Because when I was speaking with you on Facebook too, I mean, you were potentially talking about they were going to attempt more lockdowns in the future as well.
Yeah, I do think so. But back to the North American Union thing, I absolutely think that they're going to attempt this. The first plan for this actually, let me back up. So Elon Musk's grandfather, his name was Josh Haldeman. He owned Technocracy Inc., which became the Technocratic Party of Canada. This is where technocracy actually was popularized. And when they created this Technocratic Party of Canada, they came out with a map that was called the Technate of America. And the Technate of America pretty much showed North America as one unit. That was in 1940. So fast forward to today. Well, actually, so in 1973, the Club of Rome got together and they put out a map. It was called the 10 Kingdoms, where they split up all of the different nations in the world into 10 groups, or trade blocks is what they would call them. And in Bill Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse, he shows this map. Let me grab it really quick.
Yeah, no worries.
So it's this map right here. Ooh, I don't know if you can see that.
Yep, we can see it. Yep. So.
Yep, and in this one, notice that Mexico is a part of a different trade block.
Different trade block.
Right. And there's been multiple, bills that have passed to try to integrate the economic systems of Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. I think the first one was called GATT, but then it became NAFTA. Okay. If you recall, Trump was originally against NAFTA, or at least his supporters thought so. But his argument against NAFTA was that it didn't put American jobs first. Mm-hmm. And so really they didn't get rid of NAFTA. They didn't scrap it. They just basically reworked it and then called it something else. I think it's like USMCA, I think it's called now.
Okay.
Something like that. But point being is that and when he basically relabeled NAFTA, it was still the same exact blueprint. And in fact, it included more environmental regulations, more regulations on AI. And that was passed during the COVID lockdown, I believe. And so everybody was quite distracted. And so they didn't really understand what had happened. But his supporters were cheering it on like, yeah, we got rid of NAFTA, which that didn't really happen.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you, man. And real quick, because you brought it up, I have an article on Elon Musk's grandfather real quick, because this is news to me on this as well. So we got tech bloodlines inside the radical ideals of Elon Musk's grandfather. It's very interesting. So Joshua Haldeman, his ventures from Tesla to SpaceX. So in the mid-20th century, Joshua Haldeman was an electromechanical engineer with a profound belief in the power of technology to shape a utopian society. That has transhumanism all over it, my friend. His vision was rooted in technocracy, a movement that gained traction in the early 1930s. Technocrats believed in the efficient and rational management of society by experts in various fields, replacing politicians with engineers and scientists. Which, I mean, if we had really good quality engineers and scientists that were not bought off. We got Kyle.
Technocrats, right? So,
well, yeah, I know, right? So it's like the U.S. So we have Kyle Shyrock. Kyle, what's up, man? The USMCA replaced NAFTA. Yep, just as he was saying. And then we have, I wonder what the point of tariffs are if they're planning on acquiring Canada. Very interesting there. And then they changed the internet media settings in Canada during the lockdown. We can no longer share media. So we have some people on the end, but no, I didn't mean to cut that off. Let's bring that back real quick, because this is kind of, it's almost like Elon's just another Bush in a lot of ways. And the reason why I say he's just another Bush, because if you look at the Bush family, right? And how far that goes back. I don't know why I keep doing that. Sorry, everybody. But, you know, we look at the Bush family and how far it goes back. You know, what was it? Bush's grandfather, I believe, was an oil kingpin or something along those lines, or he worked for the United States government also at that time. But we can see like there's this generational thing with these people, man. And, you know, it seems to start, you know, very early, or it started very early in the days. And it's almost like they put this conditioning through their generational line. And they, you know, kind of built up these people for this current time in this modern world. But as I was saying, if we had good engineers and good scientists, ones that were not bought off by big pharma or anything along those lines, I wouldn't have an issue with that. But that's the thing. A lot of our engineers and scientists at this point in time cannot be trusted. You know, I mean, so that's not something I'd exactly be for at this time. But nonetheless, driven by this ideology, Haldeman envisioned a world where technology would solve societal issues and enhance human life. So this is very interesting, man. Thanks for bringing this to my attention tonight, Jesse. And I want to ask you this too, because this has kind of been coming up in our circle a lot lately. And I myself, even though I haven't had a direct experience with this, but I know people who have. Do you feel that AI has grown faster than they're letting on? Do you feel that AI at this point in time could potentially have some kind of sentience? And that's what I'm going to ask you.
Some kind of sentience, yeah, but I don't know about like actual consciousness. I don't know if that will ever be possible. But, you know, I toy around with the idea that perhaps AI is tapping into some sort of interdimensional awareness.
Oh, 100%, man. I mean, you would probably agree with me on this, man. When we look at the spiritual world and we look at the world of the internet, we have an as above, so below principle that applies to that. I mean, we're looking at two worlds of energy. We're looking at two worlds of symbols and symbolism. I mean, do you feel that it's possible that the spiritual realm can cross over into the internet realm?
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, that's really interesting that you bring that up. So, I mean, if you look at Apple's logo, right, a lot of people have made the comparison between that and the forbidden fruit that's in the Bible. I believe that Apple's first computer sold for $666 or something like that, something crazy like that. I think that what people are looking at when they look at their black screens is basically like a scrying mirror. So for people who don't know what a scrying mirror is, it's something that, you know, like people would look into like a crystal ball, basically, for like divination purposes. But, you know, and they had that show called Black Mirror, which I found that interesting because I had already made the comparison. But basically what I'm trying to say here, like, I think that there's a good chance that, you know, the technology, like, we had to have gotten it from somewhere. We could go into some deep rabbit holes there. I mean, I think that it's possible that there's some sort of alien intelligence that may have given it to us.
I wouldn't disagree with you there, man. And you know what, exactly what you said, the scrying mirror, you know, I every time I hear that, I think of, I look back to Aleister Crowley and his obsidian mirror. And that is definitely sending some goosebumps over me at this point in time. But I mean, I don't disagree with you, man. It's very possible that there could have been some kind of intelligence that implemented this. And actually, what I kind of want to bring up real quick. So I'm going to read this little thing. This is by actually Urban, who made the intro video. Let me pull up his message here. See if I can find it. It looks like it disappeared, but he was talking about how, because so when we look at the word demon, right? We have Alex Freeman saying, I know what a scrying mirror is. Nice to see you here, man. Good to be here. Um, so we even look at, there's an interchangeable term. So we have diamonds, right, which work with the internet, right? But when you look at the etymology of diamond, you have Daemon, and that is definitely a word that is demon. I mean, when we look at the old Greek spelling of demon, it was daimon. And like everybody, I'm sure a lot of you here remember the back in the early days of AOL, you would get mailer diamond when you fucked up and you sent a email to the wrong email address. The mailer diamond would email you back. But if I remember correctly from what Josh was saying, that these diamonds actually work, they're essential processes that work with the internet, but they are not, even though they're essential, they're not in the forefront. I mean, we can kind of take a look at what you're saying right there. I mean, we even look at circuit boards. They're very similar to sigils. I mean, there's a lot of different patterning on there too. I mean, the internet is a strange thing. And I mean, it seems like as of right now that we are potentially looking at some kind of dead internet that's starting to come into being also, man, because one of the biggest things, I'm curious if you've seen this too. So now what's happening is we have AI, not only AI profiles, but we have AI musicians too. And let's say like you put a song on Spotify, right? Like you wrote your own song, you put it on Spotify, and AI can take your song basically and make it its own and then put you under penalty for copying it, man. I think this is getting absurd. Have you ever experienced this with anything?
Well, yeah, kind of. So I've noticed fake profiles on social media, and they're completely AI generated. But not only that, they're cloning people's voices and sending voice messages. And like you could almost tell that it's AI. I mean, I was able to tell just by like my intuition, right? But they're they're semi-popular people who you wouldn't expect to be messaging you, and then they have this cloned AI message.
That's dude. I was gonna say, man, freaking. You want to know one of the funniest things that happened to me was I got a message from an AI Billy Carson. And he was trying to act like Billy really hard. And like, what was funny is the account it was on X. It had like over 100,000 followers. I was like, holy shit, did Billy Carson just follow me? So like, I kind of went over and like, he messaged me right away, but immediately after knowing that he messaged me right away and I could see like the context of the message, I automatically knew this was AI. So, I mean, we're starting to see it like, I mean, we see that X is full of AI profiles. We see that Facebook is starting to get full of AI profiles. One of the biggest things I think that's going wrong with this, at least at this point in time, is AI is stifling human creativity. We have Josh Watkins. What's up, bro? What's up, Mr. White Pill? We got, not to mention, Meta is dipping into using AI to reactivate accounts of the recently deceased. This is getting wild, man. I mean, where do you see this going from here, dude? Do you potentially see that eventually we're going to get to a point where we no longer know who we're talking to? We don't know if this person is a bot or a human. And I mean, do you think the dead internet is going to become a thing? Do you think this is going to be an actual theory that comes to fruition?
I mean, I don't see it going any other way. I mean, with the direction that it's heading in, it seems like everything is already pretty fake. I mean, I can tell that you're real, but for how long,
Dude, that's going to... Well, dude, you want to know what's funny? So like I find this absolutely hilarious. It's like the AI must not be that intelligent, because every time I interview somebody, like it happened with Sarah the Alchemist, like every time I would interview her, one of her fake AI copycat profiles would reach out to me like the next day and follow me and be like, many blessings from Sarah the Alchemist. And I'm just like, dude, like I know her, right? Like We we talk. We've talked. We just shot an email back and forth the other day. Like, I know this is not you, but it is, man. It's kind of interesting how it takes effect and it takes hold. Am I real, Mr. Freeman? I don't know. You're gonna find out very soon. But and then we have Don cracking up over here. Thanks everybody for being here, man. You guys are great. But nonetheless, man, let's kind of move forward. I mean, you know, I'm in complete agreement with you, Jesse. I do think we're being miraged. I think we're being given a sleight of hand at this point in time. Have you ever heard of the term? What was I going to say? Hypernormalization. Have you ever heard of that term before?
Yeah, I've heard it.
So basically, what hypernormalization is it's where a government and its and it's entertainment industries. We'll talk Hollywood, the media at this point. But what they do is they put on the facade that the country, its systems, and its traditions are still fully functioning, but in fact, they are on the decline. Do you feel, excuse me, that could potentially be going on right now?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, we see it in all kinds of ways, really. And I mean, I don't really know what to add to that. I mean, I think, a lot of it, like, for example, there's a stagflation, right? This is where you don't inflate the cost of something, but instead there's less chips in the bag, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's kind of happening on all levels right now, especially.
I would completely agree, man. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick. Let's see if we can get the definition here. Okay, here we go. I'm going to bring this up real quick for everybody to see, because I think this is what's going on, because a lot of people feel weird. They feel like things are not exactly, they feel like something's off right now. They feel like a shift in the energy. So what we have, man, is we have hypernormalization is the acceptance of a simplified or distorted version of reality. It can also refer to the idea that people accept a fake world as normal, even though they know it's not. The term was coined by Soviet historian Alexei Yurchak to describe the final days of the Soviet Union. British filmmaker Adam Curtis, which I highly recommend you guys watch this documentary, popularized the term in his 2016 BBC documentary, Hypernormalization. The documentary explores how the West has reached a similar state of mass delusion. So Yurchak used the term to describe how people accepted a broken system and the myths that supported it. Curtis used the term to describe how people accept a simplified version of the world, even though they know it's not real. And the documentary examines events like the war in Syria, Brexit, and the migrant crisis. He argues that these events are a result of a fake world that people accept as normal. I don't know, man. I definitely think that's going on at this point in time.
Yeah.
For sure, dude. So all right, let's hop into this too, man, because this is something you brought up with me, and mind you, I am super passionate about this myself. We were talking about the removal of is AI capable of targeting? You know what, Kyle? I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to be honest with you. I can say I don't know. But do I think it could be used for that? Absolutely. 100%, man. I think it
can be. And the reason I say that is because it's now being used to develop autonomous weapons.
There you go. That's a good answer, Jesse. No, I don't see why it wouldn't be. I mean, you look at who's running AI and who's controlling AI, and we have Mr. White Pill, Josh Watkins coming up. Hypernorm is in full swing in the UK right now as well. So no, dude. I mean, we talk about how everything, and we joke about the meme how everything is fake and gay, right? And that's something we all kind of in a way gather around and shoot off when we're talking about some of these topics, because it ultimately seems that way. But I think this kind of sums up what we were talking about in this first part of the show, man. We have almost like this cult-like mentality that's affecting both sides of the bipartisan system at this point in time. We are almost living in this illusionary fake world. So I'm with you, man. But nonetheless, like I said, I was passionate. Didn't mean to get cut off. We had some viewer comments, but I'm passionate about removing the fluoride from the water, and I'm passionate about removing the additives out of the food. I think that is something that I think we've all looked forward to for quite some time, especially a lot of us in our community. But, do you feel that there could be any catch to this? Do you think there's something else going on, or do you feel this is altruistic in nature? Because the one thing about RFK that I can't exactly, I mean, don't get me wrong, he won me over for a second, but then, I had to, take a step back and be like, listen, don't get enamored because he's telling you what you want to hear. So, I mean, do you think there's some kind of ulterior motive to this, or do you think it's altruistic what they're doing?
Both.
Okay,
so
let's hear it.
I'm really passionate about fluoride and getting the chemicals out of the food and stuff too. And I don't mind RFK. I like him. I have several of his books. I read The Real Anthony Fauci. I've been listening to him for way longer than he was involved with the Trump administration. But I mean, I wouldn't trust anyone at this point. I mean, you really can't. And so what I think is happening is the last couple of years, I've seen article after article of this causes myocarditis, this causes cancer, this causes this causes that. And I think that really what's happening is they're shifting the focus away from the what that happened in 2020, 2021, and they're moving into this, well, we're just going to admit that this stuff causes cancer and all this stuff, so that way we could cover up the side effects. I don't think that's what RFK is doing. I think that there's a lot of other genuine people as well in the Maha movement. But I think that, even if RFK is legit, which I don't know if he is or not, but even if he is, he's going to be basically walking into a maze of brick walls with the blindfold on.
That's a good way to put it, man. And I'm with you, man, because part of me is because he's a Kennedy. It's like maybe, just maybe, who knows? But then you're absolutely right, because at this point in time, we're being blasted with these smoke and mirrors from every single side, every single angle. And you have to take a step back and you need to analyze it. I'm 100% with you, man, because you've seen the articles. What was it? They said gardening. What was it? There was a couple. There was gardening. It can cause heart attack, stroke, or, a risk of that. What else? Working out, if you're a white male, can supposedly cause increased risk of heart attack and stroke. So all of these different things that they're putting out, man, it really seems like they're doing mental gymnastics to not discuss the side effects of the stab. And I mean, do you think ever at some point, do you think that the truth about that's going to come out? Because here's my thing is, we saw the release from Congress. I think it was back in November. It was either November or December. They released this. It was a 150-page report stating that all of the conspiracies, everything, were pretty much true in this instance. And I mean, there was no scientific basis to the lockdowns. There was no scientific basis to the 6-foot rule. There was none. And, this came out from this report in Congress. I mean, in your own eyes, do you ever think we're going to hear the truth about that situation become full scale? Or do you think that's something that will potentially be released 100 years down the road when none of us are here to witness it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that eventually the truth is going to come out, but how it will come out and when it will come out, I don't know. I mean, I think that, they're going to try to cover up their tracks as best they can, because anyone involved is essentially complicit in mass murder.
I'm with you, man. I mean, we look at all the pardons, that occurred. He almost within knowing that, within a few weeks of Trump taking office, immediately pardons Fauci, and pardons all of these people. I mean, some were involved in it. Some were not. And I mean, at that point, what screams guilt? to everybody. I mean, and the left is going to try to defend that. I mean, there's still people on the left I know who are defending it to this day, and it's like, it's almost as if that was a really pivotal, shocking moment for everybody. But it's like, we went one direction and then they ended up going another, and they're holding on to this narrative and they're clutching to it with like their hands, even though it's been proven now. I mean, we have evidence that showcases the conspiracies were true. Real quick, we got 2 more comments. We've got Kyle. I'm interested on why you think this. I'm interested in why you think Bobby Kennedy would be ashamed of his son if he's alive. I definitely want to reply comment to this. I don't know why you think that, but yeah, let me know. And then we have Don Rogers again coming up and saying innocent people don't need pardons. What were they pardoned for? So all in all, man, we did bring up the new lockdowns. I brought that up briefly earlier. You feel that they're potentially going to try this again. And I'd like to know, just kind of in your own words, why you feel that they are potentially going to try this again. I mean, I know they're kind of they're grasping at straws, trying to gear up some kind of new pandemic, it would seem. They're talking about weird viruses breaking out in China at this point. So yeah, let's hear your thoughts on why you think they're going to potentially try this again.
Yeah, so I think they'll try this again because I think that was always the plan. I mean, when COVID first started happening, I said, they're conditioning us. They're getting us ready, because when they really lock us down, I don't think, and they kept saying it over and over that this is going to be the new normal. And really a lot of stuff has gone back to normal, but there's a lot of stuff that hasn't. And things that aren't even, related to any sort of virus or anything. Like, for example, I don't ever recall before 2020 going into a restaurant and having to scan a QR code in order to get the menu. I used to be able to put my groceries in plastic bags. There's a lot of things that aren't normal. Walmart used to be open 24/7. But I think that, when they, like, the way that they operate is kind of like a boa constrictor or a python, because if they want to convince you that it's all okay and that you're safe. And when they try to tighten their grip, and when they loosen up their grip, that doesn't mean that they're done with you. That's not what it means. What it means is that they're getting you comfortable. We're like frogs in a boiling pot at this point. And I think it's only a matter of time, because viruses are going to come and go. And there is going to be something probably worse than, what we experienced.
Well, I'm understanding what you're saying a little bit too, because what we're talking about, we're dealing with people who understand the human psyche. They understand human focus. They understand the human attention span, and they understand how collective humanity works when it comes to this. Like I said, we are dealing with some kind of secret, you can call me whatever you want for saying it. There is some kind of secret occult order, the Invisible College, something along those lines, that's running this behind the scenes. But, I have a feeling, I'm not disagreeing with you, because what they might be doing is they might be waiting till, because when we look at the human collective at this point in time, our attention span is not what it used to be. Why do you think TikTok was one of the most successful social media apps, at least in my opinion? Is because it catered to the human attention span. You're looking at 10, 20, 30 seconds. What was it? A minute tops, some of the videos that were on TikTok. And then it's on to the next one. So, they understand that our attention span has decreased due to the increased input of the dopamine signaling response that we have through all of this different social media, all of this different content, all of this different stuff online, trash TV, you name it, that it's very possible that within another 5 years, they could potentially try something like this again, because human beings it will be a memory lost to the attention span of the human being.
Well, exactly. But, another thing that I think of is, if they did try it again, the people who fell for it the first time will be like, they did this before and nothing happened. Everything was fine. And so they'll go along with it just like they did the first time, really.
And that to me, man, it's like, we look at countries like Canada. Don Spinja, no hate. I mean, you guys are obviously the odd people out, as well as many other my friends in Canada who love freedom and think freedom is a very spiritual thing. But you look at Canada, man, you look at countries like Canada, and you look at countries like Australia. And I got a lot of badass Australians that listen to me too. Shout out to Sean Kershaw, man. But it's almost like the majority of that country's collective lost its backbone, both of them. During these incidents, man, they allowed themselves to be subjected to the most extreme totalitarian measures, that Mr. Trudeau was putting out. And you're absolutely right, man. Because, and one of the reasons I'm picking up what you're putting down is because there are still people, despite all of the evidence being released, despite all of the people that came forward, despite all of the testimony, that still believe COVID was an okay thing that happened and that it needed to happen. So, dude, I'm with you, man. That is a very huge potential that we could, excuse me. I don't know why I'm so burpy tonight, guys. Sorry about that. But no, that is a potential thing. So last but not least, man, I want to pick your brain about this because I did a show on this for the end of season 2. What do you think is going on with these drones? I mean, it seems like we still haven't had a clear answer on exactly what's going on. It seems like the media is jumping to these conclusions that these are alien crafts. They're making these claims that they could be alien crafts. I even had one person come up on my X that stated these crafts could be, these drones could be from New Schwabenland or potentially the breakaway civilization trying to monitor us. I don't know. I have no clue. I can say I don't know. But one thing I am seeing that I do know at least is that the media is really gung-ho on trying to frame these as alien drones. So what are your thoughts that are going on with this right now?
Well, Elon Musk's brother, Kimball Musk, he owns a drone light show company. And when this was going on, Elon Musk tweeted something about how there would be drone wars in the future that would boggle the mind. And he showed this video of a bunch of AI drones all going up into the sky. And so, I think that there's definitely a connection there. But ultimately, I think that there's a big distraction going on. And really, I kind of knew just to not listen to it when the story kept changing over and over. And you're hearing like all of these different stories, like people saying that they're UFOs and then they're drones, they're from Iran, and they're from China. And anytime I see the media just start changing the story like that, I know it's just some psychological manipulation happening.
I would completely agree with you, man, and that's why, like, that's why I made a post on it the other day, because I was like, dude, stop falling for this. Like, this is in my opinion, they want us to manifest that scenario. But since you brought it up, I actually looked it up really quickly, and this is kind of telling, my friend. So let's take a look at the Kimball Musk drone show. So we got Kimball Musk is the co-founder and CEO of Nova Sky Stories, a company that creates drone light shows. Nova Sky Stories uses drones, lasers, and light projections to tell stories through the night sky. Man, that really sounds very Bluebeam-esque. I don't know. But what Nova Sky Stories does, creates drone light shows for sporting events, national holidays, and tourist sites, collaborates with artists to create emotionally resonant experiences, blends light and sound to create immersive experiences. So I don't know, man. That is a little strange. Maybe we should be asking Elon about the drones. That's what it's kind of starting to seem like, man. But nonetheless, man, let's cap it off with this. What are your thoughts for this year? What do you feel we are looking at as a potential outcome this year? This is purely speculation. Don't feel tied or pressed to I guess you could say, be as factual as possible, but based on your experience, man, because like I said, you've been in this 10 plus years. What are your thoughts about everything that's going to be occurring this year? Do you think the silliness is going to escalate to another level? Do you think we're going to be in full blown idiocracy by 2026? Let's hear your thoughts, man.
I think we're already in full blown idiocracy. So,
Okay.
but as for 2025 and beyond, my biggest concern is this new AI infrastructure that is being ushered in. And, I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know that, this is the biggest concern right now is they're replacing our healthcare system with AI. And I was calling that out when the Luigi thing happened. I didn't buy that scenario at all because I was watching what the White House was putting out and what the Department of Defense was putting out. And they're bringing in this AI governance system. And so, yeah, I think that that's the biggest concern right now, at least for me.
I'm with you, dude. And this is my thing with AI too. Like if it was used for pragmatic purposes, right? Like if AI is going to clean my kitchen, if AI is going to take the trash out for me or something like that, that is something I think potentially we would see as a feasible route for implementing it, but it's not being used for that. And it's being used for wars. It's being used for intelligence. It's being used for, it's stifling human creativity. You know what I'm saying? I think in my eyes, we as humans, we should be the ones creating. That's a innate part of our divine nature. We are creator beings. That's what we're meant to do. We're meant to create. That's what kind of makes us happy and healthy human beings. And the fact that AI has taken over art, the fact that AI it has I guess you could say taken over music, the fact that it's taking over the information on the internet, and we know its creators are programming it to misinform us. I mean, I had a guy on back in season 2, Nathaniel. He's a friend of Josh's, Josh Urban Official, and he managed to break the AI and get it to admit what its creators did. So, I think as of right now, most certainly, man, I would agree with you. That is something very interesting that's on the horizon. I still have, I guess you could say, my optimistic approach. I think that even though that might still happen, I do still think what we're coming up on is a huge pivotal moment for all of us. I think we're going to see what I would call potentially a timeline split at some point. And the reason, but we will still coexist among people who choose the other timeline, but people like you and I will be moving into the new Earth frequency, while the people who are okay with totalitarianism, okay with 15-minute cities, okay with getting jabbed all the time, okay with having their rights taken away from them, are going to go the other road, man. So no, I'm with you, dude. I'm picking up what you're putting down all of the way. This is definitely a potential thing we could see. And but the most important thing, man, is sovereignty is the new currency, and discernment should be at an all-time high. And we'll leave it at that, my friend. Jesse, I have your links in the bottom of both the Rumble and the YouTube description. I also have the PsychOps Media Lab links, but if there's anywhere else anybody could find you, if you got any cool things you're working on at this point in time, why don't you take the time now to let everyone know?
Yeah, so lately I've been working on creating what I call PsychOps Productions, and I'm going to get more into making videos and stuff like that. And so, because I really enjoy this, so yeah, and so that's what I'm going to be working on from here. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting year. I think that there's going to be a lot of stuff as for where PsychOps is going to go. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Well, dude, I'm looking forward to that, man. And I might recruit you on this. I've been entertaining doing like funny, like small skit comedies for awakened people and things like that too. maybe we can talk some business, man. Maybe we can get together. Because one of the biggest things I've been starting to see is humor relays our message in a much better way than trying to drill it into somebody. But dude, I love it. I love to hear that. I like to hear that Psychops is evolving and kind of taking its in a new spin on it this year. So awesome, dude. Well, Jesse, if you can hang out for just a couple minutes after the show is over. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me for another BG Cast Wednesday live podcast. Next week, guys, let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's make it happen. Common Ground is supposed to be airing. For some of you who do not know what Common Ground is, it is a new subsection of the BG Cast podcast that I will be doing. We will have somebody from the right and somebody from the left sitting down in the same room together. And we are going to have a conversation. We are going to try to find some common ground. I feel like I'm one of the first people trying to do this. It ended up getting rescheduled last time due to one of the guests being ill, but hopefully let's keep our fingers crossed. This is going to come to fruition because, guys, the way to take down this system, it's not going to be through pitchforks and torches. It's going to be destroying the conditioning that this system has placed on us. And the biggest form of conditioning we need to start hacking away at is the collective Hegelian dialectic, the me versus you. Once we can start to understand that it shouldn't be me versus you, and it should be us working together to keep our government in check, then the power goes back into our hands. So I hope you guys will join me next Wednesday. I do believe it's going down as of now. I will update you if something happens. But nonetheless, thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll catch you then. Have yourselves a wonderful night.